Hello and welcome to the Go Creative Show, a podcast for filmmakers. My name is Ben Consoli. We've got Connor Crosby with us as well today. Oh, he's waving. How friendly.
Oh, that's right. I shouldn't wave because we have some audio-only listeners who
That's true.
wouldn't get to enjoy my waving. So I'll say hi, hello.
Well, there's a lot to enjoy. I mean, you have a really, honestly, your wave is legendary. So I feel like people should enjoy it. It's a legendary
I don't know about
wave.
legendary.
For those of you that if you're just listening and you're like, you know what, I need to see this wave, head over to our YouTube page because we do film all of our episodes and you can actually witness this legendary wave of Connor's. It's incredible.
It really is, and I promise you, it is not worth the effort. Although I'll be happy for you to check out our YouTube channel for sure.
Exactly. That's the tease. We got to get them over there, whatever it takes. I wanted to talk today about something that I think every producer out there has to deal with, and that's assembling and working with crews in different parts of the country, different parts of the world, places that you are not familiar with. Because this happens all the time. You get these jobs. We're doing this shoot. It's in Chicago. You're based in New York or you're based in Boston. Can you pull this together? Of course you want to say yes. Who wants to turn down a client? And, Connor and I have been working with crews around the country and around the world for many years now. So we have built up a really good database. But there still are places out there where we're just like, we don't know anybody, but we don't want to say no to the client. So I thought that would be kind of a fun topic to discuss because I know it comes up for us a lot.
Yeah, it does. I feel like it's happening more and more too, that we're, being asked by an existing client or a new client, hey, do you know any crews in this area? And sometimes we do and sometimes we don't. And so we have certain tools to kind of help us with all that. So I think it's a great idea.
You're working with a client of ours right now called Equity Residential. They're an apartment complex. I don't even know how to describe them. They own apartments around the country, right? That's what they do.
Yeah, calling them something like that, or apartment leasing managers or something like that. I don't know exactly what they're called, but you're correct that they own many, many, many different apartment buildings throughout the U.S.
And they asked us to produce these little sizzle reel videos about what is so cool and interesting about their apartment and the community around where the apartment is. And these are relatively low-ish budgets. I mean, it's, they're not bad, but we're certainly not doing broadcast ads with these guys. So budgets are tight and we need to find and work with crews all around the country to do these things. And it's an interesting logistical challenge to solve as producers. And I know, Connor, you've been doing quite a bit of it because you've been kind of running this whole thing. So can you kind of walk us through the process from day one? They come to us and they're like, hey, we have a shoot in Atlanta and Seattle. We need to pull these things together. What's the first step for you to get this project off the ground?
Yeah, great question. It will depend on a couple different variables. Like if it happens to be in a city where we already have an established relationship with various crews, usually the first thing that we'll do is we'll reach out to those crews, find out if they're available, find out if, the type of work is similar to what they've done in the past. Just establishing, do we already have a foothold in that community or not with crews? If not, then we start to look into other resources that we have to try to establish connections with crews. And so that might mean reaching out on various Facebook groups or websites that are meant for connecting with crews like Production Hub. And just gathering what our options basically are and who can fit in our budget, who's really good at that type of work. And that way we can have a list to either internally figure out who we want to go with or externally provide them. Because we do also have some clients that would prefer that we present some options and they get to make that decision.
I remember when I had just started, so that was 2006-ish, something like that. I mean, Facebook was around and there were Facebook groups, but I feel like there were whole companies dedicated to just helping you find crews in different parts of the world. And maybe they still exist, I don't know. But it seems like you've been using more than anything Facebook groups.
Yeah, and those companies still exist. In fact, I get unsolicited requests from those companies. I won't put anyone on blast, but it's happened multiple times, especially when I use a resource like Production Hub. They must just be checking the general forums and just replying to every single post that they see. But yeah, you're correct that Facebook groups are actually still quite valuable. I know many people, especially younger generations, who are trying to stay off Facebook, but I've actually personally, from the producer side of things, found that Facebook groups are actually still quite valuable and still lots of activity going on. So that is a great resource from either side of, job postings.
Is there a particular Facebook group that you are a member of that you go to first? Like, what's your first one?
Yes, I do. Video Village on Facebook is fantastic. There's tens of thousands of members of that Facebook group, and it's quite a lot of engagement going on in that group. Like, I'm seeing multiple posts per day, either from people like me that are looking for crews, or sometimes vice versa. If they're, someone wants to share some work that they've done, or maybe they have gear for sale. Like, that seems to be one of the most active Facebook groups that I've found.
I'm going to share this page really quick here, because as we're talking about this, I'm thinking maybe not everyone knows what Production Hub is. Because we do, there's a lot of people listening that are like professionals and they do this all the time. And then there are some people that are just brand new or just getting into the industry and like they may not know. Like, Production Hub is a really good option. And they're not a sponsor or anything. In fact, we don't have any sponsors at the moment. So this is truly just...
If anyone wants to sponsor, please reach out.
This is us just talking about the resources that we use. But like, Production Hub is great to find and also be found. So you can find crews and vendors, you can find work. Like, it's a really good resource. Now, obviously, I know Connor's saying he's using Facebook, but I mean, use a bunch of things. Put yourself out there.
No, Production Hub is still something that I very much use. It's sometimes my backup to Facebook groups, or sometimes I start here, depending on the type of job and everything. This is a great resource for those that are on either side of those postings. I know that, there was a time where I was signed up for notifications when jobs were being posted here in the Boston area that are looking for, one-man band crews or a small crew or, anything like that. So I think this is a great resource if you are, a cinematographer or a sound recordist or someone that maybe is just getting started that is trying to find work.
Yeah. And even seasoned professionals, I think, are on there too, which is kind of what I wanted to talk about next, because you, as a producer, and I do this myself too, but we're talking about it in the context of this one project where you went to Atlanta, you went to Seattle, you're going to Denver. We've shot in Boston quite a bit, which is obviously easy for us. But we're kind of setting ourselves up to be able to do this all over the country for this client and others. So you go to Facebook, you go to Production Hub. Like, I'm assuming the first person you're looking for is a cinematographer, or maybe another producer. I don't know. Like, what's the strategy?
I think it really depends on the project. We've worked on projects in the past where I do start with finding a local producer. The job that comes to mind is the docuseries that we did for Google, where we went to Atlanta, DC, Brooklyn, Oakland, somewhere in Mississippi. I can't remember where it was. But where I was not familiar with most of these areas. I didn't really know what to expect. And I wanted to lean on a producer because we were really trying to find a support crew. We had already had a cinematographer assigned to the project, and it was that cinematographer and myself flying to these various locations. And so a producer made more sense in that aspect because, one, they're going to help us with finding that support crew. And two, they're also going to know things that I don't know about that area. For example, shooting in Oakland, For those of you that are local to the Lakeland, San Francisco area, you guys know that unfortunately, what's considered, I think, petty crime happens a lot in that area, specifically with car break-ins. Just with the local laws, it's not something that I guess is as much of a focus. And so as a result, people can easily break into cars and not really suffer the consequences. And so that was one of the first things that I was made aware of, and to hire an actual security force with us that could kind of fire watch all the cars and be with us. And it actually ended up being in some ways, a lifesaver, because on the last day of filming, we were filming at some park in Oakland, and we had, cars with equipment, because we were shooting interviews prior to that. So, it's not like we had a place that we could stash that other than the cars. We were just at this park filming B-roll. And all of a sudden, the security guard came over to us in a bit of a panic and said that we needed to go. We need to, he was literally held at gunpoint very briefly and was able to scare them off.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. So we had to kind of wrap up what we were doing. And luckily, it was the last scene of the day. But obviously very frightening. And without a security guard, without knowing we needed security, it could have gone a totally different way.
I didn't even know this was happening. That's so crazy.
Yeah. It was intense. That's for sure.
Well, a good friend of ours, Sean Meehan, you know him, obviously, through Google, just so happens to be, it had nothing to do with this project, but, maybe I think it was him. And this was in San Francisco, not Oakland, but all of his equipment got stolen out of his car. I'm pretty sure this was him. And Sean, if I'm screwing up the story, then fine. But I apologize. But I'm pretty sure it was his car, and like everything got stolen. And it was you would never think to bring additional security in. It's weird because you would think to have insurance because you need it. But even if you didn't need it, you'd still think about it. But what better insurance policy than another person standing there in areas where you feel like you need it?
Right, exactly. So that was a huge plus to, talking with and working with a production coordinator, producer, whatever you want to call them. But not every job needs that. Like we were talking about a moment ago with Equity Residential, they were just, we were just needing either a camera assistant or an actual cinematographer. And so when you are working, where you need just one or two crew members, or specifically, I don't know what the right term is, maybe you would, Ben, but like these top of the fold, top of the line roles like a DP. Is that a good way to call it?
I feel like I have heard that term before. I have heard that term before. What does that mean? It's maybe like the top of a call sheet or something. It's something like that. Like they're the first. Oh my God, what's it called? That's going to annoy me.
We have audience members listening.
I know
now,
someone's listening and they're
us.
like, "You guys are so stupid." Oh my God.
Well, it doesn't matter.
Whatever it is, it doesn't. But now I'm obsessed with it.
Yeah. So if we do have shoots that require hiring someone local to the area that are in these basically department lead roles, then usually I start there. And if I'm not, trying to find a local producer.
What are you looking for when you're looking for, let's just start at cinematographer, because you're going to have a whole bunch of people. It's a creative role. So, clients are going to want to see demo reels and things. Like, what do you need to see in order for a cinematographer to be in the mix of possible options that you share with the client?
Yeah, that's a good question. The way that I kind of approach it does vary depending on the project, but generally speaking, I first try to see if there's any kind of creative from the client. What are we trying to do? Is there a look that we're trying to find? Is there, or what is the content that we're filming? Is it B-roll for apartments, or what are we filming? because that's a great baseline for me to find a cinematographer, for example. So that way in the listing, I can specifically say, we are looking for a cinematographer who specializes in real estate videos, because that's going to be super helpful. Because when you're on these forums or on Facebook, you're talking to cinematographers or crews that, work on anything from feature films to commercials to corporate interviews to things like that. So you kind of need to narrow the field, and I think that's a great first area to start, is finding out what the creative is or what we're filming.
Yeah, because in this instance where it essentially is real estate videos, there is a certain talent to it. Like, if I was hiring someone to film a wedding, I'd want to go with people that know how to do weddings. I wouldn't necessarily go with some just amazing commercial cinematographer because, they can make a commercial, but a wedding is totally different. And I feel like a real estate video has a certain set of skills and a certain set of equipment too. It's like you're going to want someone who's really good on a gimbal. You're going to want somebody with a camera package that has really, wide dynamic range, because you're in a lot of situations that are not lit and you're dealing with natural light and you need to balance it out. So having somebody that really understands what it is that you're doing is key. And I think that makes a lot of sense. Okay, so first you're saying this is the thing that we're doing. Are you asking people for reels? I know I do with commercial work.
At this point, I feel like I've done 30, 40, 50 of these kind of jobs over the years working with you. So I've kind of really narrowed it down to a science, where what I really care about is, what kind of work do they have that's similar to what I'm asking for? Sometimes a reel is helpful, but to be honest with you, I found direct links to examples to be the most valuable. Because the reel typically has a wide gamut of things. However, with that said, I've specifically found cinematographers who have like interview reels when I'm working or when I'm looking for corporate interview cinematographers, and that is super valuable. So that's one tip to any cinematographers listening out there. Having dedicated reels to specific types of work that a producer or a client may want is super valuable. So please do that.
Yeah.
Asking.
Just to interrupt here for a second, because I'm sure people that are listening are like, ugh, I don't want to make one reel. Now I have to make multiple. But really, it is super. Believe me, I'm redoing the BC Media Productions reel right now. It's a pain. It's really annoying because it's like you want to include everything. It's like, oh, well, we do this, we do this, we do this, we do this. And it's like, you need to step back and think, who cares? If somebody wants to see interviews, they don't want to see all this other stuff. If somebody wants to see your real estate work, they don't want to see all this other stuff. So sure, make the one primary reel, but these smaller, more detail-oriented, not detail-oriented, I don't know what the right word is, but like segmented
specific reels.
Specific reels for different things. Don't make them flashy. We don't, I don't care about your editing skills. Like your ability to edit a reel means nothing to me.
Yes.
Just make them simple, show us the variety, and make them very specific to the industry. And just something you can easily toss to someone. Because how many times do you talk to a client and they're like, yeah, have you done anything like this? You can't just say, look at my reel. There's a second and a half of something over the course of 2 minutes. You just want to be able to show them something. So I think that's a really valuable thing. And I'm saying it to myself just as much as I'm saying it to you, because I don't even have one, but we should.
Yeah, no, I think it's very valuable. And I think, to exclaim your point about not needing anything flashy, I don't care about how cool it was edited. At the end of the day, I'm hiring you for your cinematography skills. So if you were to literally just grab a couple different raw clips and put them in some kind of sequence where I can just see some kind of variety of interviews you've shot, that right there alone is valuable and would make me want to hire you. So completely agree.
Yeah. Those are all good things to have, and do it on your downtime. There's going to be a week or two coming up where you just don't have that much to do. And instead of stressing out and thinking, am I ever going to work again? Because You will, don't worry. You can just ride this wave out, use that time to do all the stuff that you really hate doing, backing up hard drives, making your reels, doing all this stuff. It's like loading up extra social media stuff so it's ready to go. Like, use the downtime to do the annoying stuff that you don't want to do instead of, cowering in a corner and stressing out, am I ever going to work? Am I ever going to eat? Is the company going to close down? Don't worry, you'll be fine. Use that time to actually create these little specialized reels.
Yeah, definitely. And I know that there are some cinematographers that I've reached out to who say, oh, the interviews or the footage I've shot, they go directly to the client. I don't have the raw footage, and I never hear from them again, so I never get to see the final result. If you aren't able to, like if, for example, the cards were rented and you aren't able to create a backup or something, then I would say at the very least, if you can either grab stills from the raw footage or take behind the scenes where we see a monitor that shows the final result. I've hired people just from seeing those. As long as you can clearly see what the result is, sometimes the added context of the equipment shows, okay, this person knows what they're talking about, or okay, they have the necessary gear for this kind of stuff.
I was just going to say that because it's important when you're hiring someone, doesn't matter what their role is, you want to make sure that they know how to work among large professional crews and they aren't just one-man bands doing, there are plenty of one-man bands doing amazing work, but you want to hire somebody that understands the scope of the project that you're hiring them for. So to see these little behind the scenes things of not just their camera, but the fact that maybe there's 10 people on set and there's actors and there's things going on, it at least gives us as producers peace of mind knowing like, these people know how to interact with and work within a larger scale production. I think these are all the things that make you feel comfortable about hiring someone. And the best part about it is these don't come from a polished, perfect website or an amazingly edited reel. These are just little things that you can compile together easily and have ready to go so you can share it with producers that aren't familiar with you or your work.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know we kind of went on a tangent talking about this. So to kind of bring it back to the topic of what am I looking for when I'm posting, reel or more specifically links to the exact kind of project that I'm looking for is fantastic. I'm also usually asking what camera package they're shooting on. We've had some projects that specifically require, we need to be shooting on FX6s or it needs to match, existing footage. And so knowing that is helpful. And on that note, I beg you as a producer, please don't just send me an equipment list that just lists every single piece of gear that you have. I'm sure some people find that helpful, but me specifically, like if I ask you a question, hey, what camera package are you shooting on? Just do me a favor and answer the question and not just point me to that because I am so overwhelmed with the amount of people that are responding. Usually on these posts, I'm getting somewhere between a dozen to 3 dozen responses. And at that point, I need exactly the information I've asked for because if you're writing 3 paragraphs to respond, and you're sending me, rate sheets or, equipment lists and stuff like that, if I have 2 or 3 dozen responses and I don't see exactly what I'm looking for, I'm likely not going to spend the time to go digging for it when I know I'm going to find people that, are giving me exactly what I'm looking for. So please try to be as concise and provide exactly what I'm looking for.
I think that makes sense. It's annoying to say, but at the same time, you're 100% right. It's like if you're asking them to do this thing, you got to be able to do it. Like that's the first sign that you're even paying attention to the email or to the post. So
exactly. Like if I see that you can't follow instructions, like this is fundamental stuff. Like if I've asked for specific information and you're not providing it, like I'll have some people, where, like I said, I usually ask for certain things like the reel or camera package or, what their rate is or, their contact information. I'll have some people that just respond as a Facebook message or a response to the Production Hub listing where they say, "Hey, I can do it. Let me know." Or they'll like just say something like in a couple of words where they don't provide anything that I've asked for. Again, when I have 2 or 3 dozen people that have responded, I'm going to just hit delete. Like I do that all the time. So I know it's a bit of a pain to provide this kind of stuff or to dig through your portfolio, but it really does matter for situations like this.
Ooh, you're getting spicy. That is
I don't know about spicy. I'm trying to be helpful here. Like this is the reality of the situation.
It is.
Maybe we're different at BC Media. Maybe we're lucky in that we have usually half a dozen plus jobs happening at the same time. But I have such little time to dedicate to things like this. So I really need to be as quick as possible.
Yeah, I think everyone can relate to that. Even when you're not busy, it's like you don't want to spend a ton of time on stuff like that. That all makes sense. In our last few minutes, I wanted to talk about, just bring it back to this one particular project here, this equity residential project. The reason why is because for this one, we had mentioned earlier that the budget is a little bit tight. We don't have the budget to go and do like a full-scale broadcast spot. But at BC Media Productions, we don't say no to stuff like that because we're producers. Like our job is to make it happen. So if the parameters are you need to shoot in Tennessee and you have X amount of dollars, our job is to make it happen, not to say no. We're supposed to say yes. That's what we're supposed to do. So in this situation, we had made the decision that Connor, as producer, was also going to shoot. Because that was the only way to make the budget work. And Connor shoots a lot of stuff. You are a skilled cinematographer in your own right. Maybe you wouldn't go out there and do broadcast ads, but you can certainly do something like this because you're going to be sort of overseeing the post and you know what you're looking for. And we've already done it before multiple times. So we kind of know what it is that we need. So for a couple of these, you were actually shooting and you were only looking for a camera assistant and some additional support. We went on a tangent about talking about other types of projects where we are looking for DPs. However, the reason I bring this up is because sometimes when a project comes along and you're like, do I really want to shoot this? Or do I really want to get into a one-man band or a two-man band situation? I kind of say do it. I say go for it. And the reason is, I think you always need to hone those skills. Like as you get older and you stay in your career longer, you start to really silo and you start feeling like, no, I'm a producer. I'm not shooting anymore. I'm not editing anymore. I'm just doing this. I think that does a disservice to you because I kind of feel like you lose touch on all these other muscles and skills that you're just not flexing anymore. So when you came to me and you were like, I'm thinking about shooting this, I was like, are you sure? Was the first thing. But then I understood it. I mean, do you think, budget aside, do you feel like the experience of shooting this on your own, even though it's not something you do all the time, was valuable?
Yeah, there was definitely some value because sometimes I am working with clients, like my own personal clients, that only have the budget for a one-man band, or maybe that's all they're used to working with me as. Yesterday I was shooting with a client where, I do it all. And so it still comes up. And so there definitely was some value with doing it myself. Now, my arms were not happy because this was all being shot on gimbal and it was long consecutive days. So by the end of it, I was like, oof, I was not happy about that. With that said, yes, I definitely picked up some things that either I had forgotten about or maybe didn't even know or really, think about before. And I think that adds to my skills as a producer when I am looking for a cinematographer or when we're on set and looking at a shot and stuff like that. So absolutely.
I agree 100%. I think if you have an interest, if you're a shooter and you have an interest in editing, edit a little bit or vice versa or anything. Like keeping your skills honed, even if you're not going to if you're not going to even offer them for sale, but just being comfortable with the different roles is so important because then you know. You can feel other people's pain. You get it. You understand the challenges with it. And it'll just make you a better producer if you know a little bit about all these things. I think so. I mean, I feel like for my own thing, because there's been situations, and I know you know this, there's been situations where like something will come up. I'm trying to be as vague as I can. Something will come up and they'll be like, can we do this thing on set? And the person that you hire says no. And you know that you can because you've done it before. And I feel like those situations do come up. And you end up saving yourself quite a bit of money and aggravation in just by being familiar with a wide breadth of production and capabilities. And I can't really explain it. I can't explain it without saying it. So maybe I should just...
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. And I won't say anything, but yes, we figured something out on the fly on set. And it's not something that we necessarily could have done had we not had those previous skills or intuition or things like that.
Yes. So that was totally a valueless little tip because no one knows what we're talking about. But whatever. I mean,
I think we just wanted to rant a little.
We did. Well, I mean, this is basically turning into our production calls. So we're just like rambling on about different things. So, but yeah, I mean, I feel like that's all I wanted to really to get to today in this episode. I think it's an interesting thing. I think a lot of people out there run into these situations, and I'd love to hear from you. If you're the type of producer or director or anybody that has to pull together crews in cities that you are not familiar with, what do you do? And if you are a cinematographer or a producer or a AC or whoever, and you want to get yourself into different markets, how do you do it? I think those are really important questions, and I hope we answered some of them for you. But if you have more, please do put it in where could even people message us? People can email us or in the YouTube comments, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. They can reach out to us by going to gocreativeshow.com. There's a contact form that you can fill out. You can reach out to us on social media. We are on Instagram. We are on YouTube, on Facebook. So you can leave a comment on any of those services and let us know or send us a DM. And I think that's really the best ways to reach out to us.
It is, yeah. We're still kind of like getting the gears back in motion, really figuring out what this show is going to do and how it's going to go. But so far, it's been fun. I think we're having a good time with it. And we've been working on some really juicy DP interviews, so don't stress, it's coming. But in the meantime, we get to talk about, things that everybody's dealing with out there. So if you have show topic ideas that you want us to discuss, please do send it. I personally am really getting more and more obsessed with AI and filmmaking, especially since James Cameron just joined the board of Stability, which is like, check it out. It's, a very influential AI company and AI focus. James Cameron is obviously, as we all know, has been behind or on the cutting edge of technology within filmmaking for his entire career. And the fact that he's sort of co-signing and endorsing AI as the next step is very, very interesting. So I've been following it, and we will be doing an episode on it. And I'm sure I would be sprinkling in little things that I'm following along the way. But I am interested in it. That is for sure. So that, among other things, will be on the way. For all things Go Creative Show, visit gocreativeshow.com. And what do you want to plug, Connor? Anything?
Nope. I would say that's it.
Look at that. Oh, you know what? The last thing, and I wore this specifically and forgot to even... My band 3 Second Chances is releasing a song on Friday, October 4th. So whenever you're listening to this, go to 3 Second Chances, THREE, secondchances.com, and listen to the new song. Here it is. Look at that. Ooh!
That looks so good.
That is a 90s logo. That's for sure.
Yes, I love it.
It's because I'm an old man. I am an old man. All right, everybody.
It's true.
Thanks for checking this episode out. Let us know what you think. We look forward to your comments, and we will see you on the next episode of the Go Creative Show, a podcast for filmmakers.
Bye.